Hello, friends. It's Chapo.
Right now, the Mayor Pete surge is something that would continue, or is this going to be like 2012, where in the Republican primary, first there was the month that Michelle Bachmann was leading in Iowa, then Rick Perry was leading nationally, then Herman Cain was leading nationally.
Santorum won the Iowa caucus.
Newt Gingrich was leading nationally in December. Then Ron Paul was leading in Iowa at New Year's. And then the last one to surge was Rick Santorum in Iowa. And it's a game of musical chairs. When it stops, okay, whoever had the surge, you got it.
Yeah.
Is this another one of those situations? Because
it's too early.
So far,
if that's the example, it's way too early.
We've seen a mini Kamala Harris surge, but not enough to take the lead. And then we saw after she did the debate on Joe Biden, and then the Warren surge, which is now subsided, but I think her numbers are still pretty strong. And then now we're living in the Buttigieg surge. We are less than 2 months away from the Iowa caucus. Is there another surge, and the winner is just going to be whoever surges then?
Well, see, all right. If it's a question of, because if that's the model, there has to be somebody waiting in the wings to be the next surge person, to be the Santorum, to take the baton from Buttigieg / Herman Cain.
Which could have been
he's Herman Cain.
Which could have been Beto.
It could have honestly could have been Beto.
Yeah.
But the thing is that of the remaining candidates, I don't see anyone else.
Well, we know Kamala Harris has pulled her staff from New Hampshire and is now running an Iowa-only campaign where she's polling at like 2%.
Yeah. So she is there.
She is a warm body you could vote for.
She's hypothetically someone, but beyond, she is the only candidate who could hypothetically be the next one to get a boost.
Cory Booker is still there, though I believe he might be bounced from the next debate.
Yeah, no, he has nothing. Nobody does. Klobuchar, nobody has any kind of presence to even come close to taking the next burst from Mayor Pete.
Well, I mean, obviously the dynamics are a little bit different. In 2012, the various surges of this cavalcade of freaks and weirdos was due to the discomfort that a majority of Republicans had with Mr. Moneybags.
I think what's going to happen, I mean, I don't know who can tell. I don't see anybody taking the baton from Mayor Pete. What I see is I honestly do think that it is a four-way race. I think that the four who are in double digits are really locked as the only viable possible candidates.
Well, I mean, I don't know about that because, for one, it's ludicrous that Mayor Pete is here. Absolutely. The most votes that he's won in any given election was
8,000 votes. That's the most he ever got in an election is 8,000 votes.
It's a surge built on, I mean, it's as empty as any reason anyone had to like Beto O'Rourke.
Yeah.
There is absolutely nothing there. And it's really just, it's like getting high on fumes, It's like, Pete Buttigieg, liking Pete Buttigieg is the equivalent of huffing a cleaner that you find underneath your sink.
He is a single whippet.
This is the worst way to get high.
Yes.
And as well, now that, once the media adjusts and starts saying he's the front runner, now he's going to get the attacks. I thought he would get attacked at the last debate, but everyone wanted to keep their powder dry that time. There's still 2 months to go. And how about this? His entire record sucks. It consistently fucking sucks.
That's the thing, is that he has nowhere to go but down from this point. And there's too much time left. Like if this had happened, if this burst of his had happened in January, we might be talking about something. There's way too much time. And the only one who's been consistent and has the best on-the-ground game in Iowa is Bernie, which makes me think whoever is who wins the game of musical chairs to be the flavor of the month when it's time to actually vote in Iowa, they will probably finish maybe a strong, but still a second to Bernie. And if Bernie wins Iowa, I'm sorry, there's no way he doesn't win New Hampshire. And then the real question becomes, can Biden hold on to his lead in South Carolina? And if Biden holds on to his lead in South Carolina and wins South Carolina, then I honestly feel like it's a two-way race because Mayor Pete is going to get honestly shellacked and destroyed single-digit style in South Carolina because he has literally zero black support.
That's the thing. So Mayor Pete does horribly among black voters, horribly among Latino voters, who are two big constituencies in the Democratic primary.
Because the only way that a guy, like a wild card candidate, a guy without real establishment buy-in like Mayor Pete wins is by doing the Obama thing of connecting educated white liberals with like a mass of working class black voters, which is what Obama did. And the fact is that those voters are Biden voters, and that is honestly why I think Bernie's going to win more than anything. Is that the only coalition that could beat him is that Obama connection between rich white urbanites and black Southerners. And that's what beat him last time. That's what beat him. That's how Hillary beat him.
But here's what's interesting: we know that Bernie does terribly among rich white liberals.
He does. Well, that's the thing. He was beaten by Hillary because of that coalition. The fact is, though, those two segments are held by two different candidates, and they can't transfer to each other. Biden voters, there's no evidence that they will go to Mayor Pete in any context. And those rich white urbanites, they're not going to go for fucking fossil ass, Alzheimer's ass, segregation ass Joe Biden, which means if they stay separated and no one can bring them together, then Bernie's going to win. Even as the DNC rallies to try to beat him, it's going to be a replay of 2016 where you have a party apparatus desperate to defeat an attack from an outsider, but unable to deal with the collective action problem of getting behind one guy. Because here's the thing. It's like when Trump started winning and the RNC went into panic mode, they wanted to get behind one candidate. But the problem is that there is no mechanism for picking the one guy to run against Trump other than the primaries. And while you do that, Trump keeps winning them. So that's going to be the same problem they're going to have against Bernie. How do you get people to drop out? How do you get people to unite behind one when they individually think they have a shot to be the candidate and they think, well, I'll wait for the next primary, and then they end up slowly bleeding delegates to Bernie?
Let's do some future casting.
Yes.
Can we get a riff for future casting?
Future casting, squiddly-doo. We're going to get the future. Look at the crystal ball.
Bernie's numbers have been very static throughout this race. He has been both nationally and in the early state polls within a narrow band, something like 18 to 20%.
Real G's.
That's his floor.
The ultra comforts.
No other candidate, except for arguably Biden, can argue that they have a floor like that. Of course, Warren doesn't because her campaign tanked very early on. She had the surge. Now it's going down. Buttigieg obviously came from nowhere. And Biden's numbers, have been high, but I think the consensus is here in the Beltway garage that these are artificial numbers.
Well, the thing is that national polling numbers and polls in early states could be or not, or polls in states after New Hampshire and Iowa and stuff can really kind of be discarded for the simple fact that the voting, that electorate is going to be dealing with a reality that we can't really know. They're going to be dealing with reality where there have already been primaries going on. And like the reason people like Biden is because more than anything, electability. And if you're going to vote in your state and Biden has gotten his ass kicked or has underperformed in every fucking primary and caucus before that, then his only selling point has been deeply undermined. That is why I don't think like Biden's support is insanely soft. It's a big soft.
But the other question
it's
is
so soft. You can just grab chunks. It's like a piece of King's Hawaiian bread. Just pull pieces off.
But the other question is, how soft are the support bases of Warren and Buttigieg?
I mean, we've seen
who are
for a
as well
fact,
Bernie's closest opponents in Iowa.
We've seen how soft they are. Warren's supporters are clearly very feckless. Mayor Pete's supporters are people who just in the last 2 weeks are like, wow, I really enjoy the grades he got at fucking Oxford, you fucking nerds. These are feckless supporters. Bernie's supporters are solid. His like we've said, his fucking floor is unprecedented.
Now, this is an interesting dynamic in Iowa because, of course, Iowa is a caucus, and most people don't really know how the Iowa caucus works because it's ludicrous.
It's insane. It shouldn't exist, honestly.
You go to a high school gymnasium where there is a marshal for every single campaign. They all give a speech, and then you physically go to where to the candidate that you support, to that group. It's
like picking a sport at high school gym.
You pick a polycule, basically, and you get together and you cuddle with all the fellow supporters. And there is a minimum requirement to actually get delegates, which means if you are a Klobuchar supporter or a Castro supporter, where there's like 3 people here for Castro and 500 for Warren, you get a chance. It's very let's make a
You
deal.
want behind door number 3.
You picked Castro. He's not getting any delegates. Now you get a choice to move to a normal candidate who might win. And everyone can shift then, and I think there's there might be another round of speeches or something, or just yelling and cajoling your neighbors. And in that event, there's a little bit of playing defense there, isn't it? Because at that point, if you're in the Sanders camp, you can want to pull Warren people to your side if Warren's doing worse than you expected her to do.
Yeah.
And the thing is, with how Bernie's been doing, if you're a Bernie supporter right now in Iowa, chances are you were a Bernie supporter back in December of 2017. Chances are you ride or die. You're not moving to another fucking candidate. Nope. It means he has the highest floor, and it means he has the most to build on.
Yeah. It means that in every one of those gymnasiums and fucking church basements, that he has like when they start horse trading, no one's moving. The Bernie pool. First of all, it's going to be obviously everywhere. Given his polling, it's going to be above the minimum, and it's not going anywhere. Every other supporters pool is essentially up for grabs.
And I want to say this, and maybe we'll cut this if it sounds by the time I've said it, but I follow a lot of like Bernie campaign people on Twitter, and people are very enthusiastic about Bernie's campaign. Bernie has a legion of volunteers in Iowa, like people going door to door, people talking to their neighbors, people making phone calls, and so on. And he's the only candidate where I see people say stuff like, "Well, finally convinced my mom to caucus for Bernie. Mm-hmm. Finally convinced my neighbor to vote for Bernie." Mm-hmm. And I know that there are people volunteering for Elizabeth Warren. I know that there are people volunteering for Mayor Pete because I've seen the fucking videos. But I have never seen... But as much as I like to, go on a traipse through the internet, like a digital flaneur of sorts, observing people I don't necessarily agree with other political preferences than I've never once seen a post that was like, convinced my mom to vote for Mayor Pete.
I did the high hope stance in her living room for 5 hours, and she eventually told me she would vote for Mayor Pete.
And so, I mean, that indicates to me that, okay, Bernie has a massive campaign team and a highly disciplined Iowa team. He's got county chairs in all 99 counties in Iowa, which is very, very, very important to have all these analytics because of the way I just described the fucking caucus process, where you have to know what everyone's preferences and second preference and third preference is if you want to come out with the most delegates from a single county.
Right.
That's the only campaign where I see people actually converting people to fucking join the fold.
Yeah, and I feel like when you're in the room...
bringing people in who are outside the political process.
I feel like when you're in the room on the day and it comes time to start redistributing those singletons from the loser pool, I don't know.
Spread the delegates around.
No one has a better pitch than fucking Bernie, Like these are real committed political people. They wouldn't be standing in a fucking gym if they weren't. And you can... Bernie's seconds, Bernie's proxies can say, this is our chance. This is a chance to undo the horrible damage that has been done. This is a chance to make a future that we could fucking live in. What the fuck is the Mayor Pete delegate gonna say? Is he gonna do the dance? Is he gonna just like cry and do the goddamn just like just tears coming down? It's like, what the fuck's the Warren person gonna say? Especially if she keeps fucking falling down and keeps equivocating and keeps indicating with every fucking word and statement that she does not actually care about anything and all she cares about is winning, and that she's a fucking milk-blooded chump who will blink when the fucking moment comes.
What does the Joe Biden person
What does the Joe Biden person say? Folks, he's electable. Well, you literally were in a fucking church basement in Iowa, and you somehow have the second most people here. How are you a hegemon? What is your argument? What is your argument of like resistance is futile, Borg style? Because that was what fucking Hillary had last time, and at least there was something behind that. It's like, yes, she had this like massive thing behind her. Biden is Even he was never able to clear the field. There's people are still joining the race. By the time this is out, Eric Holder might have declared.
The admiral is still out there. You have not captured him yet. He is still wandering.
The admiral,
he's still causing problems for you in the backwoods of New Hampshire.
The admiral,
won't someone bring me the admiral?
The admiral's like John Paul Jones out there with a bunch of frigates in the Finger Lake regions. You can't stop him. You can't do shit. The only one with a fucking clear, meaningful message that could actually get a bunch of sappy-eyed political nerds in a room to be like, fuck it, let's be legends, is Bernie.
So here's my view on the matter. It's the same story that it was months ago. In Iowa, Bernie and Warren, they locked up the top talent early on. They have the best field operations. They have the only real field operations to speak of. I think the race, nevertheless, comes down to the two of them. And the question is, whether there is a Bernie, two questions about whether Bernie will win the Iowa caucus. One, the polls are off and they're not counting the people that Bernie's bringing into the political process.
Nope.
And so his poll numbers, which have him at like 18, 20, 22%,